Hello and welcome from J&Joy Adventures. So we've just got back to England from our most recent trip to Thailand.
So we thought we'd share our top 10 tips for anyone thinking of a trip to Thailand.
So without further ado, let's go.
So our first tip is visas, which is probably the most important out of all of them.
It is the first thing that you are going to have to consider before going to Thailand. And the first thing that we would recommend you doing is going to the what is it? The Thai, not the Gov website.
It's like the Thai embassy.
Yeah, the Thai embassy website, and checking if your passport qualifies for a visa exemption. Now, what a visa exemption is and what it means is basically you can enter Thailand on a 30-day exemption visa on arrival. So you don't need to do anything beforehand, you can just arrive.
You literally just turn up and they stamp your passport and you've got your 30 days.
Yeah.
But obviously if you're not in the list of countries, then you'll have to get a visa prior, which is a little bit different, depending on your country. So obviously that's the first thing we recommend you check. So yeah, that's how you would turn up if you wanted 30 days or under. But if you want to stay a little bit longer, one option that you have is what they call a visa extension. You can extend another 30 days. You can actually do that twice and get up to 90 days. What you do is you pay the fee at an immigration office and you've got to make sure you have all the documents that you need. You do need a few things, but it's a pretty quick and easy process. But it can actually end up being a little bit more expensive than going for a tourist visa, which you pay and get before you go to Thailand.
So a tourist visa is a 60-day visa. So some people prefer, if you're going for 60 days, just to do a 60-day visa, and then you're covered up to that date. And again, with the tourist visa as well, you can also extend it an extra 30 days, also giving you 90 days.
So therefore, in total, in terms of visiting and, as a tourist, you can get up to 90 days. Either one of those paths will get you that, basically.
Yeah. So arguably the second most important thing about going to Thailand is getting your money sorted. Now you've got to remember that Thailand is a cash dominant country. So even though there are card machines in certain places like 7-Eleven, don't count on being able to use your card everywhere. Some street food stalls do have something called scan and pay. However, this is only for Thai bank accounts, so you will not be able to use it as a foreigner unless you have a Thai bank account, which most of you won't.
The Thai scan and pay is kind of their version of contactless.
Yeah.
It's
kind
really
of cool, actually.
It is really cool, actually. It's just not available if you're foreign, basically.
No, unfortunately not. But even if you do take some cash out there and you run out of cash, you can get money from the ATMs. Just be aware that they do have ATM fees. Supposedly you can go into a banking branch and withdraw money directly from your card without the fees. However, when we tried to do that, they were saying that we had to use a credit card for it. So yeah. It seems to be that it's hit or miss. Yeah,
I know that I think the first thing is that it just depends that you're lucky and the branch you've gone will accept it. They can do it with debit cards. It's just if that branch will do it.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is if then you choose to use your credit card, it's very likely that you'll have like conversion fees and things from using it abroad. So you'll have to pay usually in some way. The ATM fee sort of ranges between 150 baht to 220 baht. It's not a lot, but it does add up. And obviously you want to make sure you've got a bank card that allows foreign transactions and withdrawals for free as well, because then those little bits they
definitely
add up.
So just make sure to double check your card, make sure you can use your card abroad, and make sure you double check about any fees or anything like that when you're spending in a foreign currency.
So yeah, in general we would recommend taking a good amount of cash with you to Thailand, originally within your normal currency from your country, and then exchange some at a place with a good exchange rate. There's so many banks that allow it, like Kasikorn, Bangkok Bank, there's loads. You can have a look when you're there, you can check online what the exchange rate is. Super easy.
Even if you don't want to do that, go to a mall. There's usually 6 or 7, sometimes even more banks there, and they will always have their exchange rate advertised, if not in the window, then just inside the bank.
So it's super easy, and then it means that you can, have a look around and choose the best one on that day for your currency, because obviously things fluctuate all the time.
Absolutely.
So it's always good just to be wary of that. Another thing just to do with money is going to be dual pricing in Thailand. Now, this appears in two forms. Let's call it the legal dual pricing, which is going to be for your national parks and historical sites, or the market dual pricing. With the market, I mean, sometimes you'll actually be able to get it down to like the Thai price, but it's really depending on your bargaining skills.
We've experienced both.
It just is, that is one of the most hit or miss things.
Absolutely.
You just got to see if you're lucky, basically, and just depends how the vendor's feeling. So that one's quite unpredictable. But in terms of the national parks and historical sites, you cannot haggle those prices.
No, so you cannot haggle prices for national parks or any kind of official, like kind of printed price. Usually when a price is printed, it usually is the final price. And that usually tends to go for Thai people and foreigners. But if the price that's a general rule of thumb. If the price is printed, then it's fine. Then that is the price. But otherwise, have at it. Feel free to bargain. Test your luck with it and see how you get on. Really,
exactly.
It goes either way.
So that's so you are aware, like the national parks and things, those aren't scams, especially if it's at the entrance. If you're in the parking rank or near taxis and they're telling you to pay there, don't pay there. Make sure you're at an actual ticket booth to walk in, because then you could accidentally pay twice.
Yeah, and just to kind of segue on from that, obviously different parts of Thailand have different pricing. So from what we've experienced, the south of Thailand is quite simply the most expensive part of Thailand.
Yeah, it's mainly like anywhere in the south that's super touristy, because some places in the south are cheaper than others.
Yeah, definitely.
But just because the south is so touristy, the average of it all is just higher than the rest of Thailand. But you can still find cheap options, so like don't let that deter you, because if you're worried about like it being really overpriced, there is going to be overpriced stuff, but there's always cheap things for locals especially, so just find those gems and you'll be alright. So tip number 3 is all to do with food.
And of course, you know what they say, when in Rome, in this case, when in Thailand, you've got to eat Thai food. It is some of the most delicious food that you can get in the world. So balanced, so flavorful, and so many fresh, delicious ingredients for you to try.
Do not only eat pad thai. Like, it's good, but it is not the bee's knees. Like, it's not the best Thai food. There
are so many different foods, I should say, that you can try. Everything from pad thai to fried rice to so many other kinds of fried rice and noodle dishes, curries, soups. Absolutely try the food, be adventurous, and get yourself out there.
The only concern that I know that most people have with trying Thai food is usually spice levels. So honestly, just say to them, not Thai spice, just a little bit, and it usually will be not too spicy. Depending on your spice tolerance, I'd say maybe build it up a little bit before
you also have to be conscious of what you're eating as well. Certain foods in Thailand are just inherently spicy. That's just how they are. Certain foods like pak pao, som tam.
Yeah, they're foods that you have them spicy. Like, they're not supposed to taste not spicy.
They are supposed to be spicy. That is how they are. So when eating those types of foods, don't think that they just didn't listen to you and are torturing you. That is just how the food is meant to be. It is made to be spicy.
And of course, if you're going to Thailand, 7-Eleven is going to be your best friend. If you need quick snacks, little bits and bobs, water, drinks, literally toothpaste, anything, go to 7-Eleven. The food there is actually pretty good.
It's definitely not bad. I've certainly had worse ready-made meals. Like,
yeah, I mean,
they're seriously good.
When you need something just like really quick and easy, like you're just out and about, you need a quick snack, a little bit of rice, it's a really good option. So it will have everything you need, and again, stuff like toiletries as well. You'll be good.
7-Eleven is much more than Toasties and water.
although the toasties are really good, you do have to try them.
Absolutely, you've got to try them. But on that note, if you are eating at a street food, I know that a concern and an issue that a lot of people have when eating street food is the water and the ice and kind of the fruit and veg. So I think really we just want to put some of those rumours to rest.
Yeah, there is a lot of sort of concerns that people have about these things, which honestly we completely understand. It's something that you would be concerned about before going, and if you don't actually know, you will be. But we're here to myth bust all of these things for you. So let's go with the first one, which is water.
Definitely.
So water at street food, you usually see them like in a jug. These are safe to drink, and 90% of the time. Sometimes it is possible that it's not. The best way you'll know is if there's a really, really big like water jug thing. It's not a jug, it's a massive bottle with like a cap, you know.
It kind of looks like an office bottle of water.
Yeah, that's the size.
From like a water dispenser.
Yeah, that's the kind of size bottle you're looking for to be near the street food stand. If you can't see that, then you can decide not to drink it as peace of mind. But I can tell you, if you can see that bottle, the water is safe, because all Thai people everywhere, they all get filtered water deliveries. So everyone has clean, safe water to drink all the time. And vendors aren't gonna give you tap water that you shouldn't be drinking.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the Thai people don't drink the tap water either. So, you know, people don't drink, wash, make ice with tap water because it is... No one drinks it. It's not really for that.
So the next one then is ice. So the easiest way to know that ice is safe is if your ice has holes through the middle. So when you're getting served ice at street food places or anywhere, if it's got holes, you know 100% that is filtered water.
Yeah.
But again, that can be like your extra peace of mind. But I have had ice in all shapes and forms in Thailand. Crushed ice, squared ice, everything.
Absolutely.
Obviously when it's from like 7-Eleven shops, you know that ice is safe.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's a vendor's, even if it's... To be honest, I don't think actually I've ever had crushed ice from a vendor's apart from like Thai tea places.
Yeah.
But to be honest, if it is not good for you, you would know pretty quickly. Like you'd feel bad.
Yeah, you would.
But again, it's if they were feeding you stuff that you can't be having, especially in terms of ice, then they wouldn't be in business. So always look for places that are busy. As long as they've got customers, you know that they're good.
Absolutely. That is the one thing, you know, Thai people won't go somewhere that is dangerous or has bad food. So if it's got customers and they're Thai people, you know it's a good place.
Definitely. And so the last thing is about like the veg and stuff that you're eating. Again, 99% of the time they only use filtered water. It would literally be somewhere like where they just didn't understand that you have to use filtered water.
It would have to be like somewhere in the mountains, like a tribe, something like that. You know,
yeah,
normal Thai people, again, you know, because the water is not made for consumption. They don't wash things with that water. They'll just use the filtered water that they get delivered.
The most likely reason that you have an upset stomach is probably because of spices more than anything, and your gut bacteria, for example, also is not really used to things that are in food in Thailand compared to a Western country. If you're not from a Western country, though, it's quite likely that you'll probably be fine, because your microbiome is probably just gonna be a little bit stronger or just a bit more used to the sorts of herbs and spices that's in Thai food.
Absolutely.
So honestly, if you are eating food there or something and you don't feel very well, that is the most likely reason, is that your gut bacteria is not mixing well, or you've had too much spice. Again, Thai spice is a different level of spice. The chilies are extremely strong, and if your gut bacteria is really weak, it can really attack you.
Absolutely.
So it can make you feel quite poorly.
Just remember, if you do get ill in any way, make sure to stay hydrated. There are some drinks in Thailand that have electrolytes in them to help replenish you. So take in lots of fluids and just listen to your body. Don't push yourself.
Obviously, if you feel really bad, make sure you get medical assistance.
Yes.
The hospitals are everywhere, super accessible. They usually also speak English. If you've got travel insurance, you'll be able to use the private hospitals, obviously, and they're all really accommodating, and it's not super busy, so you're not going to be queuing for hours.
Yeah, if you don't have travel insurance, you can check the info card in the top right. It's the same travel insurance that we use, and you know, we think they're great. Yeah. You can go on a monthly basis if you're a frequent flyer, or if you're just planning 1 or 2 trips throughout the year, you can decide when it starts and when it ends.
It's also super affordable.
Absolutely.
And the coverage is absolutely great. So if you had, you know, not that I want anything bad to happen to anyone, but if you were in an accident in Thailand,
you'd be covered.
And, you know, that's the most important thing, is that you're going to be safe and well. So I hope that that's put any worries about like food poisoning or getting a bit of a bad belly or anything in Thailand. The other thing I did want to cover is just if you have dietary requirements. Obviously, if you have any bad allergies, you can carry your EpiPen, whatever, and carry little cards. Get them translated if you want to, so you can show vendors and they can tell you, okay, I can do that, I can't do that. If you're vegetarian, this is quite well accommodated in Thailand.
Oh yeah, super easy.
You just tell them you're veggie. You can use Google Translate on this and just say no meat and they'll understand. A lot of people in Thailand are also vegetarian. And apart from vegetarian, if you're vegan or if you are avoiding things like gluten or dairy, again, this is actually quite well accommodated too. There is lots of noodles and things and different dishes that actually are vegan, and there's even in some places, especially tourist places, that sell like straight up vegan food, or places with like no gluten and no dairy. So just make sure that you just look out for the places and don't worry if, you know, you can't eat certain things. I'm sure that you're still going to be able to enjoy food there.
Absolutely. Okay, so moving on to number 4, which we have just titled for simplicity, driving. Now, of course, you can drive in Thailand. By all means and technicality, you do need your international driving permit. At least in England, what you do is you literally just go to the post office, hand them your driving license, and they'll stamp and a passport size photo as well, and they'll literally stamp it and glue your picture in, and that's it. You're good to go. So make sure you have that on you, because if you are stopped by the police for any reason, it is a legal requirement to have it on you.
Yeah, if you don't have it, or if you've not got the correct license for what the vehicle that you're driving, then they will fine you. This fine can range, but it starts about 500 baht. It can go up more. This really depends with discretion, and you know, I think
what they're kind of fining you for.
Yeah, and you know, I think if they've caught you possibly a few times, then they will increase these prices. So the fine will also be increased if you've broken extra laws. So if you're not wearing a helmet, or if you're not wearing correct clothing, which just means clothes, so like no naked driving, guys, then they will also fine you for that, because those are both legal requirements as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, the fine is not huge technically, but if you keep doing things like not wearing a helmet, it will rack up. And I mean, guys, wear a helmet, be safe.
Yeah.
It can be dangerous out there, so...
The Thai roads are the second most dangerous roads in the world, second only to South Africa. Obviously, make your own decisions at the end of the day. We're not going to tell you to do or don't do.
If you're in your early driving career, then I'd probably say be careful, be extra careful at least. Obviously, the other thing is different parts of Thailand are busier than others.
Yes.
So, you know, if you wanted to have a hand at it, just do the quieter places.
And different parts of Thailand also have kind of almost different driving standards. So certain parts of Thailand, you'll find that the drivers are worse than others.
Yeah.
Like you'll find, for example, the motorbike drivers in Bangkok, you'll find that they're much more risk takers than most other drivers.
That's one way to put it.
If you've ever taken a motorbike taxi in Bangkok, you'll know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But that's the long and short of driving. Just be careful, wear your helmet, make sure you're properly clothed, and have the correct documentation on you.
We have seen, you know, people recommend and say like, oh, you don't need a license, you don't actually have to wear a helmet. I mean,
not true.
Just because you're not put in prison for these things doesn't mean that you don't have to, because again, you'll just get fined. As a tourist, police officers are usually pretty chill, and they'll just say, yeah, you just got to pay the fine. That's all they're there to do at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, so our next tip is travel dates or seasons, whatever you want to call it. It's usually a very big concern when people are planning a trip to Thailand. You know, what time of the year should I go? How bad is rainy season? How bad is dry season? These are things to definitely consider.
Basically, the long and short of it is, it doesn't really matter.
Yes, even in dry season, it can rain.
Absolutely.
It can really rain. It's obviously worse in wet season. Wet season is worse in the south, especially around Phuket on that side of the coast and the Andaman Sea. That side gets a lot worse rain. One of the big reasons why people choose to go during wet season is because it is also low season, so it's cheaper to go at that time of year.
Absolutely. You know, both the times we've been to Thailand have been during the wet season or the low season. We found it great. You know, we didn't really have a day where it was raining all day. We couldn't do anything, you know. We were never trapped by rain, because the thing with rain in Thailand is they are what I like to call flash thunders.
Yeah, I think that's very true. Phuket is just the worst place for rain. Because,
yeah, definitely. It's not nearly as bad in Bangkok.
Yeah,
it's not as often anyway.
Yeah, you just get more flash thunders in Phuket, basically.
But yeah, they usually only last around 10 minutes max. Maybe a bit longer.
I mean, yeah, I think the longest rain time we've had is about an hour. I don't think we've had rain consistently more than an hour.
If you're lucky, you'll be at a market or something, go get some food. It'll be gone by the time you're done.
Yeah, honestly, you can always chill somewhere.
Yeah, so there's always somewhere to go.
It's not that serious. So we sort of bridged dry season and rainy season a little bit because we went in April. So the start of rainy season is about May. That's when that starts. And then dry season starts around November, so that's when the high season is. So it's everything in general is just more expensive in terms of tourism costs. So like your flights, accommodation, tours if you're booking tours, that sort of stuff. It can be really hot.
It can get seriously hot. Even your mum, you know, who is actually Thai.
Yeah,
says that she has to go for a few months to actually get used to the heat.
It's really hot.
It's hot.
Especially in like Bangkok or around North Thailand.
Yeah.
In the north, it's also dry season is also burning season, so the old crops are getting burnt off. So if you're driving sort of in the outback a little bit, you're gonna get some smoke, and that's normal. Don't think that it's like forest fire going on. Or
no, you're
that
good.
Sort of stuff.
You're good.
But yeah, when we were there, it genuinely was the hottest I ever felt in my life. We hit 40 degrees and you just felt like your insides were
melting.
were heating out. It was impossible to cool down, especially when we were driving and stuck in traffic and you felt the fumes of the cars on top of you. It's really hard. So
it's a lot.
If you're not very good with heat, to be honest, rainy season's probably best for you, just because when it's hot, obviously it's hot, but because it's dry season and it rains less, you're not getting that like rainy air.
It's not cooling, you know, the surfaces down. The good thing about the rain is that it cools the roads down, it cools the walls down, it cools down all the surfaces. But you know, having said that, rainy season is not cold. It's not cold.
No. Don't be fooled. It's not like that's the winter of Thailand. I mean, I guess it is because it's a bit
very
cooler.
Technically.
But it's still warm. But that's why everyone loves Thailand, right? It's a warm tropical place. That's why people go.
It's warm all year round.
Exactly. In terms of going in rainy season or dry season, I would say the biggest things to consider is probably just how are you with heat, how much time do you want to spend in Phuket, and price. In terms of, you know, your costs and things being a little bit more expensive, I would say that it's probably like a 30% increase. Roughly.
Yeah, I think that's probably about right.
And just when's convenient for you, because obviously if, you know, the time that's most convenient for you doesn't line up with like the time of year, as long as those like the rain and whatnot is not too much for you, then it doesn't really matter too much. Like don't uproot everything just because of the season.
Yeah. So let's talk about getting around Thailand. So the first thing that you're probably going to encounter in Thailand is going to be, if you're landing in Bangkok at least, is the Bangkok taxi. Now these guys can be very sly. They can you can say where you're going and they'll charge you a flat fee. So they might say to you to go to the centre of Bangkok, for example, 500 baht. But this is quite often not the best price that you'll get, even if you do manage to bargain it. The best way to do it is to ask them to use the meter. Now you can always tell what kind of taxi has a meter.
Yeah, the taxis usually have like, you know, like the New York taxis, they've got the little thing on top. It usually says taxi meter.
Yeah.
And these taxis can be a whole array of colors, so don't worry about the colors too much.
It basically just tells you what company they're from.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, the cheapest way to get around usually actually is the taxi meter. However, the first problem you might encounter is they say no. If they say no, just don't go.
Don't go with them.
The best time to try and use taxi meters is when it's just quieter. If it's busy on the roads, they'll say no. I don't really know why, but they'll prefer to try and get a flat fee out of you. So in times when it's busy, or if you want convenience, then I would suggest using a app.
Rideshare app.
Which is going to be, the three main ones is Bolt, Grab, and InDriver. InDriver does work a bit differently. You sort of bid a price.
Kind of, yeah.
So Bolt is usually the best one to use because Grab is usually a bit more expensive.
Yeah, we've found.
But yeah, those apps are great because obviously it's like Uber. You literally order it to your door, you know where you're going, you don't have to go and find someone. But otherwise, if it's a really short distance and you like just don't want to walk, motorbike taxi.
They are all over Bangkok. Every single street corner there is a motorbike taxi. Even if there's not, walk a few meters, you'll find one.
They're wearing orange vests. Yeah, they're literally just wearing orange vests, just chilling on their bikes. You tell them like where you're gonna go, they say yep, and obviously just check the price. But I mean, for short distances, you're looking at 15 to 30 baht. Like it's
I don't
cheap.
think we've ever paid more than 50.
Yeah, 50 was the most we paid, and that was when we had to go like pretty far. So
yeah, that was quite a far one.
It's not that bad.
The next thing you're probably going to encounter is tuk-tuks. Now, these are the pride and joy of Thailand. You know, they are probably the most iconic vehicle in all of Thailand. All I will say is, you've got to experience it, but it's not going to be your everyday transport.
Yeah.
These things have bumped up their prices because of the novelty of them, you know. This is something that you don't really find many other places in the world these days. There's only a handful of places where you can still find tuk-tuks.
Yeah.
So they've jacked the prices up, so you're probably not going to want to use them every day.
I would suggest like doing a pretty short distance and getting the experience. Like I feel like it's one of those iconic things that you just have to do because you're there. Like if you were in New York, are you not going to get in a cab? You know, it's one of those things. Like you at least have to do it once. But don't let that one time be somewhere touristy like the Grand Palace, because you know, everyone talks about the Grand Palace scams. They'll tell you it's closed, they'll go here, go there, all those kinds of things. So I would just suggest maybe going between a shopping centre. You know, you get to experience the ride, you get the fun, and do it in the evening. That's the best like vibes.
Yeah, it's really great. So when you're not traveling into city and you're looking at going across the nation, we have found that using travel sites like 12Go Asia have been the easiest and probably one of the cheapest ways to get around Thailand. You know, you can book your transport from, you know, by coach, by train, more or less every way but flying.
It's a really convenient way if you've got a lot of transfers. I would say that if you're doing just like one journey, so if you were going from Bangkok to Ayutthaya and you're going to take the bus, get that at the bus station because that will be cheaper. But when you're doing like 3 transfers using an online site that gives you your tickets, just makes that part easier, because otherwise you might have to try and call them up to try and book the next leg of the journey.
Yeah.
The other way that you could do it if you didn't want to use the sites would be like travel agencies and tour agencies, and they're actually usually really well priced as well. They don't usually like mark up the prices for anyone. It's pretty set standard prices.
Yeah, just shop around, really.
But traveling in and around Thailand is super easy. You know, outside 7-Elevens there'll be tour guides. So a really good way to do it, to be honest, is ask them for a couple prices, take it back with you, and then have a look around and decide what's cheapest. So on to tip number 7, which is SIMs. So we recommend getting an AIS SIM. They are like the best network in Thailand. You'll know this just walking around, you'll see adverts all about it.
They are everywhere from the BTS, and there's like 3 of them in Bangkok airport as well.
Yeah, there's loads of advertisements.
But don't be fooled, do not get it from Bangkok airport. It is expensive. Do not let them fool you. It is expensive from Bangkok airport or any airport.
It's usually like 1,000 baht at the airport for a month. honestly, if you want to pay the extra for the convenience of having it from the airport, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's completely personal choice, personal preference. But otherwise, if you're trying to get a bit cheaper, go to an AIS store and then you can get a 1-month SIM. We were able to get them for 300 baht. This was unlimited data plan, and we just extended this, like, the longer that we were there, we just extended for each month sort of thing. And yeah, the signal is great. Like, we were getting signal when we were on ferries in the ocean and stuff. So yeah, honestly, that's the thing we recommend the most, is get a SIM, because it's so cheap and genuinely really, really good. You know, you don't want to end up being stranded because you've not been able to get Wi-Fi.
Definitely.
A lot of public Wi-Fi actually is AIS Super Wi-Fi, which means that you can't use it if you've not got an AIS SIM.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a bit of a catch-22 with that, but...
And don't worry about it as well. When you get the SIM from AIS, especially when you get it from AIS, they'll put it in your phone and they'll set it up for you so that you can get access to the AIS Super Wi-Fi in these public places. It will automatically connect you and log you in, and they'll just tape your SIM to the back of your phone. Okay, so moving swiftly on is something very important, and something that is always kind of irks us as well, is temples and etiquettes when you're at temples. Now, what you've got to remember is that Thailand is a predominantly Buddhist country, and that temples aren't just there for show and tell, they are a place of worship.
So in terms of clothing, it's super easy, shoulders and knees covered and you're done. Like, you don't actually have to wear long trousers, just long skirts or long shorts, basically. Yeah. And obviously if you're in a vest, you can chuck on a little shawl. As long as your shoulders are covered in some way, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, it doesn't inherently have to be a t-shirt or a shirt. It can literally just be a shoulder cover, like just something thrown over you. There are Thai silk scarves sold at almost every market, and you can use those just to cover your shoulders.
And don't forget that, you know, you don't wear shoes, usually in temples as well. When you're walking around the grounds, obviously, but when you're entering a temple, take your shoes off. So aside from clothing, the other really important thing is to make sure that you're not going to be showing signs of affection, you know, kissing, stuff like that. Or like, if you're taking pictures, no lifting up, no picking up,
or
that sort of thing.
The one that you told me is being vain. So you're supposed to be quite humble when you go to the temple, when you're taking pictures. It's not about making yourself look beautiful, it's about taking the time to take in the scenery and what's around you.
Obviously, it's absolutely fine to take pictures of yourself at the temple, that's completely normal, but don't walk in and be doing a photo shoot, because this is a place of worship at the end of the day. In some temples, when we were in the White Temple in Chiang Rai,
they'll shout at you from a megaphone.
Yeah, they actually had megaphones because they have so many tourists, and they were telling people off effectively for taking kissing pictures. So, you know, just be a good tourist and just be super respectful. As long as you act respectfully, then you're going to be absolutely fine.
Absolutely.
Tip number 9 is a quick pro tip. So defamation against the king, well, the monarch, but there's a king currently, is illegal in Thailand. So on the safe side, don't say anything about the king, just because obviously, especially with language barriers, someone could really misinterpret what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Even if you ask a simple question like, why is there a king? Something even very not offensive or defamatory could be understood,
perceived
as such. So yeah,
you don't want to get put in Thai prison. No,
so to stay on the safe side, just don't mention the king at all. Don't step on anything with the king's head on it either, like money, because that is also defamation of the king. Even though it's not words, but you get the point. Avoid the king. Don't speak about him, and you're going to be all good and not be in Thai prison. Yeah.
So last and by absolutely no means least is the national animal of Thailand. We are of course talking about elephants, the kindest, gentlest, biggest creatures in the world.
Honestly, if you're going to Thailand, it's very likely that you're planning to go visit some elephants anyway. Completely recommend that you do. You do need to see them. They're majestic. They're so adorable, even though they're so huge. Like they're so gentle and so almost puppy-like. Yeah, they're genuinely so nice.
Sweet.
No, they are. But obviously, you have to really think about where you're seeing them and what you're doing. Don't ride any elephants.
This isn't inherently bad for the elephant. It's just the elephants that get ridden are often treated quite badly. You know, they're often whipped, not fed properly. You'll see you'll
Yeah.
clearly see the comparison if you see, you know, a sanctuary elephant or a zoo elephant compared to a ridden elephant. They tend to
Yeah.
be a lot skinnier and a lot smaller as well.
You can see like their skin is like super cracked and they look a lot older. Usually they've been doing riding their whole lives, which is absolutely horrible. So, you know, when you're a tourist, especially if you go and endorse these kinds of places, it makes the problem worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't go and ride any elephants, do those sorts of things. I mean, usually they're wearing chains as well, so you know that they're not being treated fairly. So it's likely then that you'd probably be thinking about visiting like an elephant sanctuary. There are quite a lot of these in Thailand, but even then, you do need to be careful. The only real sanctuaries are the ones where you simply observe them and feed them. I know that in some you can like bathe them and put like dirt and things like that, mud and things. But sometimes with elephants, you actually shouldn't be doing that. It's not actually good for them to
over bathing them,
Yeah.
basically, because they then get bathed every day.
Yeah, so it's
But
really bad for their skin.
It overhydrates their skin. An elephant's skin is super tough and it's meant to be dry.
Yeah, obviously if you're at a sanctuary where the elephants are just playing in the water, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
It's basically just decide if the sanctuary is good based on what activities you're able to do.
Yeah.
So the main things is, you know, if you're able to simply observe them, spend time with them and feed them, then you are all good. And definitely go and see them because they are lovely.
Absolutely. But that is it for our Thailand top 10 tips for traveling and just making your way around and through Thailand. If you've got any other questions or anything that we haven't answered in this video, make sure to pop them down below in the comments. Maybe if we get enough, we'll do another one of these because, to be honest, it's super fun just talking to you guys about it and just...
There's also loads of things that we can mention. But
absolutely.
these are sort of our list of like...
The top things that you need to know.
Just the most important ones.
But anyway, we hope you guys have enjoyed this video. We really enjoyed making it. If you did, be sure to go down below, hit the like button, consider subscribing, hitting the bell icon, never miss a video from us. Until next time, we'll see you very soon.